Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Another 3 looks 1 palette video using the Sydney Grace and Temptalia on the Horizon palette. I've done a 3 looks 1 palette and a first impressions using the Quintessence palette. If you want to check that out, I'll link it in the cards or down below or both. And I'm doing now a 3 looks 1 palette using the On the Horizon palette. Again, I'll talk about this more in the end, so I'm not going to bore you with my rambling thoughts now in the beginning because you know what this video is about. But this palette surprised me. I really enjoyed playing with it. I think it's a really pretty palette, a really beautiful half colorful, half neutral palette. Truly a half colorful, half neutral palette. I think the range of this palette is huge. And I loved every single look that I did with this. I kind of tried to span the range of neutral to bright to then like dark and smoky and grungy with this final look. So yeah, without any more comment from me, let's get into the first look. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the first look using the Sydney Grace and Temptalia on the Horizon palette. Let me tell you, I've had a morning. I keep trying to do my hair in different ways and it keeps not working. So I just spent 45 minutes trying to do my hair and this is what it looks like, and I'm just upset about it because I wasted all my goddamn time. Anyway, positive thinking. I'm going to be doing, I think, a neutral halo eye today because I've been into neutrals. I feel like I haven't done a neutral halo eye in a while. So let's just get into it because we don't need to hear me rambling on. So because I do have the deep version of this palette, I'm going to go in with a separate transition shade just for blending purposes. I'm going to start with this MAC single shadow in soft brown. So I feel like it's pretty much like has a little bit of rosiness to it like the other browns in here, but it's still a brown. It's not like a pink because I want this to be like pretty neutral. So I'm just gonna run this all through my crease just as a transition shade. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the shade October Odyssey, and I'm just going to put this in my inner and outer corner and connect it through my crease, just like I typically do with halo eyes. This is a very pigmented shadow. Okay, and so now that I have that built up, which is really like just a beautiful, like almost purpley toned brown, I'm going to go into the shade Infinite Echoes, which is a very similar tone, just darker. And I'm going to just use this to deepen my crease up. Okay, so I love this crease. I'm like so in the mood for neutrals today. I think I'm gonna cut my crease. I wasn't sure if I was going to. I'm going to, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I am back with my crease cut. So quickly I'm going to go into October Odyssey and just stamp this on my lid a little bit. These mattes have been like so nice to work with though. They just basically blend themselves. And then I'm going to go into Infinite Echoes and intensify my inner and outer corners. Then I'm going to take a tiny little brush and use that around the edges. Now I'm going to go into the shade Phoenix Awakens, which is this really beautiful copper shade. We'll see how these shimmers perform with a brush because I didn't love the way that they performed with a brush in the Quintessence palette. I had a blank there for a second. And then I'm going to put this on the edges, like the inner and outer edges of where I cut my crease. This one looks better. Like this one is performing well. Okay, so that is on. That actually is super nice. I had no issues with that. Now I'm going to use Magellan's Light, which is this really beautiful like bronzy shade. Oops, after I just stuck my finger in a shadow, great. I'm just gonna brush the brush off that I used for the Phoenix Awakens shade and basically do the same thing, spray it, and then put this in the center of my eye. Then I'm going to take a little bit of October Odyssey and just slightly blend over the edges just so there's not such a harsh transition. And then I'm going to, what do I want to do? I'm going to take each shade on my finger now and just intensify them on my lid. Magellan's Light is such a beautiful shade. I cannot wait to use that just by itself. And I'm just going to take Soft Brown, the transition shade that I used, and just run this over the top of my shadow. I think these shadows work together super well. And then again, I'm probably just going to keep it pretty simple for my lower lash line, so I'm just going to take October Odyssey and blend this all along my lower lash line. And then I'm going to take Infinite Echoes and just use this to deepen my lower lash line. And then I'm just going to take Soft Brown again and just buff this out. Okay, so for my inner corner and my brow bone, I'm going to take the shade Heart Dog, which is almost like a taupey silver. So I'm just going to do my brow bone quickly, just a little bit. And then for my inner corner, I'm going to take it and I'm going to give it a little spray just to intensify it. Ooh. And then last but definitely not least, I'm going to take the shade Magellan's Light just on my pinky. And I'm going to put this on my lower lash line in the middle. Just matching it up with where it lays on my eyelid. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to just finish up my face, my eyes, and my lips, and then I'll be back to conclude the first look. This definitely put me in a better mood. Okay, so this is the finished look. I'm very happy with it. I don't know why I've been just like craving neutrals lately and loving to wear neutrals, and I'm into it. I really like it, and both of these shimmers or that I used on my lid at least, are so beautiful. And I'm very, like, I'm into it in every way, to be honest. On my lips, I'm using the L'Oreal Color Riche lip liner in Matting Call. You guys know I use that all the time. Then I put a little bit of the Makeup Forever Endless Cacao in the center of my lips. And then I used the Propa Beauty lipstick in Finesse. I really like this lip combo. I think it's great. I haven't used my Propa Beauty lipsticks in a while. And yeah, ready for fall, you guys. Ready for fall. All right, let's get into the second look. Okay, hello. Second look using the Sydney Grace and Temptalia on the Horizon palette. I'm going to use the greens and the blues today. I believe I'm gonna do, I think, a half cut crease using these shades. That's my plan. But first, I'm going to use a different palette for a little transition shade. I'm going to actually use the Colored Rain Juicy Boost palette today, and I'm going to use this light green. It's called a Cucumber Avocado. And I'm just going to run this through my crease just to help with blending. Okay, so now it is time to go into the actual palette. I'm going to first use this shade Desert Spoon. It's basically just a, like, true green, I would say. I'm excited to use this. This is the first, like, colorful, I want to say, shadow from Sydney Grace that I've used. Definitely had to build that up, but it blended out super well. And so now I'm going to go into the shade Midnight Courage, which is this dark blue. I just love the names of these shadows. They're so fun to say. Like, honestly, best name palette that I've ever owned, for sure. And I'm just going to use this to deepen my crease up. Okay, so this is my crease. I'm going to cut my crease quickly and be back and figure out what shades I'm going to use on my lid because now I'm conflicted. Okay, so I cut my crease. I'm going to go in with the shade Desert Spoon, the green. Just go over the front edge of my eyes and then put a little bit on my lid. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the shade Midnight Courage, which is the blue. And just use this to deepen along the edge of my crease here and also deepen my outer corner. Okay, so now for my lid, I'm going to go in a different direction than I initially thought. So first I'm going to take the shade Earthbound, which is this green. It's metallic green. It has like a gold shift to it. It's really pretty. I'm going to give that a spray. And I'm going to put this in the center of my lid. Curiosity. On the other eye, I went in with a brush that's a little bit fluffier, like this guy kind of thing. And it didn't, I thought it might like apply the shimmers a little bit better. It didn't. So if you were wondering, that was kind of my hypothesis, that this, like a fluffier brush was going to work better. Didn't really notice that big of a difference compared to like a flat packer brush. Anyway, now I'm going to go into the shade Lunar Illumination. I love these shade names so much. And I'm just going to put this in the front of my eye because I was going to go into green and blue. I was like, is that too obvious? And I was going to go into purple and blue. But I feel like green and purple may be a little bit more interesting. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so that didn't apply at all. But I did spray my brush as well. Just putting this right in the inner third of my lid. It's a really beautiful lavender shade. I'm so tired, so if I seem out of it, that's why. I don't know why. Nothing is different today. Maybe I should just drink more coffee. Okay, and now I'm just going to, you know what, these are blending pretty like well into each other, but I'm just gonna go back and forth and just blend these shades together. This blend is actually quite good. And then I'm just going to take Desert Spoon and just blend it into this green, which should be fine to do because it's green and green. And then I'm just going to take the shade Cucumber Avocado from the Juicy Boost palette and just run this over the edge just to help with blending. And then my favorite part of any look, now I'm going to go in with my fingers and the shade Earthbound and Lunar Illumination and intensify these shades. Super pretty. They both have like a goldy shift to them, like a gold shine, so I feel like they work quite well together. For my lower lash line, I'm going to take Desert Spoon, which is that mid-toned green, and just bring this all underneath my eye. I swear to God, my brain is just like off today. And now I'm going to go into Midnight Courage and just deepen my lower lash line with this. And then I'm going to just take the Cucumber Avocado shade and blend my lower lash line out. And I'm going to take the shade Heart Dog, which is this really beautiful taupey silver, even though you already know that because I used it in my last look, and use this to highlight my brow bone and my inner corner. And I did spray this as well. And as one final little step, I'm just going to go into the shade Midnight Courage with the tip of my pencil brush and just use this to define my crease. Okay, so now I'm just going to finish my face, put some lips on, and be done with this look. Okay, so this is the finished look. I really like it. I feel like it really shows like you can get pretty colorful looks out of this palette, even though it looks kind of like a neutral palette, but you can definitely go like full color if you want. On my lips, I'm wearing the exact same lip combo as I am in the last look that I did, and I also took a little bit of black. I also did this in the first look, but I forgot to mention it. I just took the shade Umbra from the Quintessence palette from Sydney Grace and Temptalia as well. So yeah, I don't know why, but like to me, this green and this purple really like give me alien vibes. I don't know where that comes from, but that's what I think. Oh, and my lashes are Bold Face Makeup Dream Big. Lashes in the style Dream Big. I know I keep saying that they should be dead, but I love them. I honestly might just order like 2 more pairs because I don't want to be without them. Okay, so let's just get into the third look. Alright, so this is the last look using the Sydney Grace and Temptalia on the Horizon palette. I'm going to do something shimmer heavy today. I think I want to use the shade Calming Presence, Sakura Glow, and Flying High. in part, oh, this is not, okay, I think that's better. In part because Temptalia just does this herself. She uses like, or she does very shimmer heavy looks, but also inspired by, I feel like OG, like Pixie Glow, RIP to their channel, and also one of my favorite people on Instagram, A Pointless Gram, Lahia from A Pointless Gram, does super amazingly beautiful, very shimmer heavy looks. And I feel like I never do that. I always do very matte focused looks, and I was inspired, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start using the shade October. Actually, now that this is not as light as I remember. Okay, maybe I'll just go in with my bronzer first. So I'm actually just gonna go in with a bronzer first, basically like any like light brown shade or shadow or anything, just to do a little bit of underpainting, I guess, just to provide like a little bit of some structure and shadow in my crease. I'm using Fenty Into Sun right now. And now I'm going to take the shade Midnight Courage, which is this dark matte blue. I'm going to take that on a pretty small, like a medium-sized pencil brush, and I'm going to place this, I guess, I'm just going to provide like a little bit more shape using this shade. And so I'm going to map out kind of the shape that I want on my outer corner, and then also bring it through my crease. I'm going to end up covering this up with shimmer anyway, I'm pretty sure, based on like the vision of the look I want, but I'm just going to use this as like a guide at first. Okay, so I think those shapes are like about as even as I'm gonna get them. Obviously not blended at all. So I'm gonna take like a small blending brush and the same bronzer that I used. And I'm also going to tap in with like one tap of October Odyssey, which is this like warmy rosy brown. And so it's like basically like a tiny mix of like this bronzer and October Odyssey. And I'm just going to use this to just blend the edges of this blue out, just so that like there's gonna be a little bit of shadow peeking out from the shimmers, so I want that to be like blended. This is basically just like giving me a shape guide and providing like a little bit of definition to shine through the shimmers, I guess. That's like my theory. And now I'm going to take an even tinier pencil brush, oops, with the hair attached, with the shade Midnight Courage just on like the tip, and I'm going to just deepen this line a little bit more. All right, so that's like the vibe that I'm trying to go for, and I'll fix it if I feel like I need to later. I'm going to start with the shade Calming Presence, which is this really beautiful like purpley blue shade. I'm gonna take this on just like a little flat brush. I'm gonna spray that, and then I'm gonna put this on the outer third of my lid, covering up essentially where like that outer part of the blue shadow is. I'm bringing it up, not quite to like where I blended it, but just like kind of like around here, like the middle of the blend of the blue shadow, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to take the shade Sakura Glow. I'm going to spray that as well, and I'm going to put this in the middle of my lid. And then finally, I'm going to take the shade Flying High, which is this lighter blue shade. I'm using all separate brushes, but it doesn't really matter. I'm spraying them all as well, and then I'm just going to put this on the middle, nope, on the inner part of my eye. And these metallics are actually performing well with a brush, because I've been having a little bit of trouble with them on a brush with the other, like the Quintessence palette and just like Sydney Grace shimmers in general. So now I'm just going to like go back in with each of them, kind of like perfect the shape a little bit and blend them all into each other. Okay, so I have these shimmers laid down. What I'm going to do now, let me just think about this. I'm going to go over the very edge of these shimmers as carefully as I can and just blend the edges with this tiny little brush that I had before. Maybe I'll do the slightest little tap of Midnight Courage. And blend over. I don't care if the shimmers like get into my crease or anything. That's kind of the point of the look anyway. I just want to like keep the depth there, you know? And then I'm going to take that tiny little blending brush that I had before. Right now I'm not picking up any more product. I'm just blending over the edges. Okay, so that looks pretty good, I feel. Now I'm going to go with my fingers into each of the shades just to intensify them, but I'm trying to be as careful as I can. I'm super into this. I love the way these colors go together. All right, let's do my lower lash line. I think I'm going to take Calming Presence. I'm going to take it on this like denser brush here. And I'm going to just place this all along my lower lash line and then connect it, forming like a straight line with my top lash line. Okay, so I just put that all along my lower lash line and I blended it out. Just that one Calming Presence shade. I'm going to now just go with a black. I'm going to just use the shade Umbra from the Sydney Grace and Temptalia Quintessence palette. I'm just going to quickly wipe off that same pencil brush that I've been using. Take Umbra and then place it all along my lower lash line. I did get some fallout from this black. Or no, from the shimmer shade, putting it all along my lower lash line. I don't think that's necessarily a fault of the palette itself, because I think anytime you take a shimmer, I didn't spray it, I just went in with it dry, and you know, try to pack it on, it's probably just it's probably going to give fallout. I don't do that very often, but I'm not like faulting the shadow for it necessarily. And then when I do my liner, I'm going to add this black in my outer corner as well. Or should I do that now? Maybe I'll just do that now and just connect it to my bottom lash line and just use this to deepen my outer corner. And then just with a big fluffy brush, I'm going to take that same mixture of just mostly my bronzer with a touch of October Odyssey and just run this along the blend of my lower lash line just to like keep everything cohesive, blend it like into my base a little bit more, blended it to my blush. Just to finish off my eyes now, I'm going to take the shade Heart Dog. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this and highlight my brow bone. I'm going in with a little bit heavier than I normally would just because it's all shimmers anyway, so it's kind of just flowing together. And then for my inner corner, I'm going to take the shade Lunar Illumination. It's this beautiful lilac shade that I used in my last look. I'm going to give this a little bit of a spray so it's more intense and it sticks down, and just, yeah, put this in my inner corner. Layering this also onto like the blue shade that I have here as well, kind of wrapping it around. Okay, so this is the final look, the finished look as well. On my lips, I used, you don't know, I mean, you don't need me to tell you what lip liner I used because you already know what lip liner I used. And the lip gloss that I used is the Essence Just Clear Gloss. I'm so into it. My lashes are Bold Face Makeup Forget Me Not, and I just use a black liner in my waterline. Holy shit. This is why it's sometimes good to go out of your comfort zone, because I really am into the way that this look looks. I feel like the dark shimmer, the Calming Presence shade is deep. It's deep, so it's deep enough to add depth and add dimension, but it just looks really cool. I don't know. Maybe you'll see, I mean, technically I did use a couple mattes, but that's just for like adding a little bit of like guidance and shape, and I don't know, I think it's still smoky, but pretty and grungy at the same time. I'm into it. And I have to say, I wasn't even expecting to love this palette that much. I think it's a really beautiful, like, neutral, truly like half neutral, half colorful palette that you can really do the most with. Like, you can do really neutral looks like I did in my first look. You can do like really bright looks like I did in the last look, and then this is obviously like dark and smoky and like colorful but like deep and jewel toned. I'm really surprised by how much I love this palette. I don't know, well, at least these are still available, so this like review 3 looks, whatever, is still relevant if you were, you know, debating which Temptalia palette to get. I think from Sydney Grace, I think this Color Story, which is the Quintessence palette, is probably still my favorite, but I'm honestly shocked at how much I enjoyed using these. I really love the metallics in here. For whatever reason, I feel like they performed better than the ones in the Quintessence palette, and I just don't know why. Again, they're still like solid metallics, not super sparkly and not super like glitzy or anything like that, but they are just really solid, good metallic shades. And I mean, not everyone wants like super sparkly, glitzy, iridescent, you know, metallic shades, and I think that's important to note. I do see myself getting use out of this. I see myself reaching for this for neutral looks, and I'm excited to use these palettes in a simpler way, like using matte shades in the crease and then just like putting one metallic all over the lid. I don't know why, but I feel like these palettes really like make me excited about just doing like simple but impactful looks. That's just kind of like my gut reaction, but I do really love the looks that I've done with these. And makes me want to like explore the world of all shimmer looks more. Like I could see myself doing a very similar look with this palette, and that just like makes me excited. And I don't know, I'm the mattes again perform like the mattes in the Quintessence palette. For reference, I have these are the only Sydney Gray shadows that I've used if you haven't watched any of the other videos that I've made on these palettes, but the mattes are really a beautiful formula. I haven't had any issues with the mattes at all. They build, they blend really beautifully. And the metallics are pretty solid, although I have had some issues with the metallics more than I was expecting, just in terms of like not applying the best when I use a brush and things like that. And sometimes I have issues blending them into each other, but this time I had no issues, and I really didn't have any issues with any of the metallics from the On the Horizon palette. And I think if you're in the market, if you don't live in a country outside of the US especially, where you won't get charged expensive shipping fees, and you're looking for a really versatile palette, I think this is really, really great. And yeah, I have to say, like, I had a ton of fun filming this video, and I had a ton of fun using this palette, and it surprised me pleasantly. Again, I will say, is it the best? Like, everyone I know raves about Sydney Grace's formula. I don't maybe feel as passionately as a lot of people do. Like, I've seen people compare Sydney Grace's formula to like Pat McGrath and all this stuff. I think it's good. Does it blow me completely away? No. And that's kind of my 2 cents on that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it, and I will make another 3 looks 1 palette with the something Radiant Reflection, I'm pretty sure. Yes. And then yeah, that'll be that on that. Let me know, do you like all shimmer looks? Which look was your favorite? What do you think about this palette? Do you have it? Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!